and welcome back to Time Saver Kitchen. Next, let me tell you about what I'm going to make today. Today we're taking sourdough to the next level with a soft sourdough sandwich loaf that's perfect for stacking up all your favorite fillings. This loaf has a beautiful rich crumb with just a touch of sweetness from honey and a little extra softness from olive oil. So let's get started and bring some homemade goodness to your kitchen. Before calling it a night, I feed my starter, and by morning it has doubled in size. I kick things off by setting up my mixing bowl. With my digital scale ready, I place the bowl on top, zero it out, and start measuring. First things first, I measure 300 grams of the starter. I reset the scale once more. Then I measure out the spring water. I warm the spring water in the microwave until it's lukewarm. Ideally, it should reach between 101 and 102 degrees Fahrenheit, or roughly 38.3 to 39.1 Celsius. Using the digital scale, I measure out 20 grams of kosher salt and set it aside. Add the lukewarm water to the bowl with the measured starter. Stir thoroughly using a whisk until the mixture turns into a milky liquid. Measure out 50 grams of olive oil. Add 40 grams of honey to the mixture as well. Stir everything together thoroughly to combine. Measure out 1,000 grams of unbleached bread flour. If you add too much flour, you can easily remove the excess with a spoon, just like I'm doing here. Next, add the salt. But first, I like to use a small spoon to create a little well for the salt to settle into. Pour the salt into the well, then gently mix it into the flour with the spoon. I use my KitchenAid with the dough hook to blend the mixture. I mix it on low for a few seconds, just until everything comes together into a shaggy dough. Scrape any excess dough back into the bowl using a spatula. As you can see here, the dough has come together and has a shaggy texture. Dampen a kitchen towel with water and wring it out thoroughly. Cover the bowl with a damp cloth and let it rest for 30 minutes. This auto-lease period allows the flour to hydrate, making the dough easier to work with and helping the gluten develop more effectively. I like to set a timer to remind myself to do my stretches and folds. It helps me stay on schedule and keep the process on track. While the dough rests, add spring water to a small bowl. I use this water to dampen my hands before stretching and folding the dough. After the intermission, keep the dough in the bowl and dampen your hands. Stretch a section of dough upward without tearing it, then fold it into the center. Turn the bowl a quarter turn and repeat 3 more times. Cover with a damp towel and repeat this every 30 minutes for 3 to 4 sets. With each set, the dough will become more elastic and manageable. I use a sticky note to keep track of how many stretch and fold sets I've completed. Stretch and fold set 2. Stretch and fold set 3. Stretch and fold set 4. After the fourth stretch and fold, allow the dough to rise at room temperature for 4 to 6 hours, depending on your room's temperature, until it doubles in size. This is known as the bulk fermentation. If you notice your dough doubling in size earlier than 4 hours, you are ready to proceed to the next step. Hey there, I'm just popping in really quick to let you know about my themed dinner menus over at ThymeSaver.com. If you're planning a dinner soon and wondering what to serve, I've got you covered with delicious curated menus that make hosting easy and fun. Okay, that's it. Let's get back to the video. During the bulk ferment stage, I prep my baking pans. I spray each loaf pan with cooking spray to help the parchment paper stick in place. I clean my counter with a disinfectant spray and a washcloth. Once the counter is completely dry, I sprinkle it with flour. I also flour my digital scale, as I'll use it to weigh the dough after cutting it in half. This ensures both portions are equal. I stretch the dough into a rectangle, then use the stitch method to seal it, including the ends. After turning it over with the seam side down, I place it in the pan. I repeat the process with the second dough. I very gently pat each loaf to help the dough fully fill the pan. As you can see up close, the dough has several bubbles on top. I recommend popping the larger bubbles with kitchen tweezers or a toothpick, or simply pinching them between your fingers. Cover the loaf pans with parchment paper and then a kitchen towel and let the dough rise at room temperature for about 1 to 2 hours. While the dough is proofing, crack an egg into a small bowl, add 1 ounce of water and whisk until smooth. Set it in the refrigerator until you're ready to brush it over the tops of the risen dough. After 1 hour, my dough has risen nicely, with a smooth round top and about 1 inch of rise above the pan. Preheat the oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit or 190.5 Celsius. Brush the tops of the loaves with the egg wash, which will give the crust a beautiful golden brown color and slight shine. Your total bake time will be 35 to 40 minutes. High altitude, 45 to 50 minutes, or until a nice golden brown. After 30 minutes of baking, I take the loaves out and brush any risen areas with more egg wash for a beautifully even color. Then I return them to the oven for 5 additional minutes. After 5 minutes, I take each loaf out of the oven to check its internal temperature. They're ready when they hit between 200 to 205 degrees Fahrenheit or 93.3 to 94.4 Celsius. This time, they're not quite there yet, so back into the oven they go for another 5 minutes. Before popping them back in the oven, I lightly cover them with foil to keep them from darkening any further. This should be the final temperature check. The first loaf is spot on at 200.3 degrees Fahrenheit, and the second one comes in at 202.8 degrees Fahrenheit. No worries about the slight difference. As long as they're at or above 200, they're good to go. Once the loaves are done, I take them out of the pans and transfer them to a cooling rack. I give them a full 2 hours to cool before slicing. The wait is worth it. Cooled bread is much easier to slice, while hot bread tends to crush under the knife. This bread recipe is one of my go-to favorites because I can mix, rise, and bake it all in the same day. With a hint of sweetness from the honey and a rich crumb from the olive oil, it's simply perfect. While waiting for the bread to cool completely, I wrap it in clean kitchen towels, as I'm doing here, and I leave it on the baker's rack overnight. On the next day, I slice it, wrap it in a plastic bag, and store it in the refrigerator to keep it fresh longer. When it's time to serve, I pop a slice in the toaster on a low setting to revive that just baked flavor. And there you have it, a beautifully soft and slightly sweet sourdough sandwich loaf, ready to elevate your lunch game. I hope you give this recipe a try and let me know in the comments how it turns out. Thank you so much for watching today. I'll see you here next time on Thyme Saver Kitchen. If you enjoy this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more delicious recipes, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on what's next.